a voice for the American people.
Tim Walz and the fraud scheme that's rocked the media. He came out a couple days ago and stated that he's not going to be running for a third term on governor in Minnesota, and that's for 2026. So you can't have billions of dollars moving and not know about it, and either somebody was asleep at the wheel or they were just really turning their head and not knowing about it, but just not saying anything about it, what was going on. This is not a left versus right. It's a power versus people. This is bigger than Tim Walz, because when you have donors, you have other factors that's coming in with Tim Walz. There's something going on. Let's be clear. I'm not claiming I know the inside of what's happening with Tim Walz. Fraud at this scale doesn't just happen. It's allowed. And so without permission, somehow somebody in this chain of command, maybe multiple people, knew about this. 78 people that are now being looked at by the Department of Justice for a fraud scheme, sending money out to Somalia, $9 billion roughly to about $18 billion. You can't just say, oops, this happened for years and we just don't know how that happened. The money in question came through state and federal funded programs that were designed to reimburse nonprofits for services like food, assistance, and community aid. These nonprofits would submit claims. The state would approve payments, and oversight agencies were meant to verify that the services actually happened. What investors are now saying is that between 2021 and 2023, the verification process broke down. Claims were approved at scale, oversight failed, and billions of tax dollars moved through nonprofit networks without proper checks, with some of that money allegedly ending up overseas. That's the core issue here, not just who was in charge, but how the system allowed money to move this freely for this long. Big fraud needs blind spots. So let's hear what Tim Walz had to say about why he's not seeking another third term for governor, and then I'm going to come back and give you my opinion on all of this.
It is Minnesota's investigators. It is the IGs that are over there, Investigator Clark, that are doing the things of putting people in jail.
Well, then why aren't there state prosecutions?
The federal laws that they're choosing to do federal prosecutions. We will prosecute on every single thing we can. Many cases we get longer ones. Is your assertion is that we don't have anything to do with the investigations? That is totally false. We're the ones who brought it to them. We're the ones who alerted the FBI. We're the ones. We turn these cases over every day. Drug cases, human trafficking cases. We would prosecute them. What I can tell you is I am deeply concerned now that they are being federally prosecuted, because just yesterday the president commuted and pardoned a sentence of a fraudster who took billions and billions of dollars, who served 12 days and was sentenced by an American jury to 45 years. So I am concerned that he releases the fraudsters because they're on federal. If they don't want to prosecute it, we will certainly take them. But this is normal how this works. So my statement is, we are prosecuting and helping put people in jail who are committing fraud in Minnesota.
All right, Tim. Now, these things have been going on since your regime started in 2020. 2023, we know that, these investigations, the Somalian 78 defendants, I think it was feeding our future is what it was about. And he's not seeking a third term. There's a lot of red flags here. That 2021 to 2023, that's where they were doing their investigation on where this money was going. Now, yeah, you could bring up the idea that why is the president, or why are we looking at other individuals? Let's not take the focus off of you, though, and off of Minnesota and off of what's happening. You have taxpayer dollars funneled to other countries, and you still, instead of saying, hey, you know what, these things, instead of saying we need to get to the bottom of it and we're going to focus just on that specific topic, you start bringing up other things and deflecting. And I think that's really what a tactic is for a politician. They never want to take blame, and they never want to take ownership. They always want to point other fingers and then say, oh yeah, well, by the way, the other thing is happening as well, and why are we not focusing on this? The reality of it is you're involved with a major possible scheme, fraud, that's worth billions of dollars that occurred over 2 years plus time period. You have 78 individuals being looked at by the Department of Justice to potentially go to jail. How does somebody at that level, how does a state at this level get that type of money? And then this goes on for this period of time. And then only now you're bringing this up. I think it comes down to the time frame, who's involved, why is this money being allocated overseas, and how did even this get started? You got these nonprofits and a lot of these entities putting money into circulation for different things, which should have been for a good cause. But do we need that much money, and do we need to have that many people involved and not knowing about it? It's it's something hard to swallow here. I want to talk about where incentives might lie. Let's talk about incentives, because fraud lives in incentives. If you're a bureaucrat, stopping payments creates enemies. If you're an agency, denying claims creates lawsuits and political heat. If you're a politician, cracking down can upset voters' blocks and maybe donors. So the easiest move is to keep the money going, and we'll worry about it later. And I feel that that's kind of what happened here. And it got to a point where it was so big, the money was so big going outside, and we don't even know if it's going to only Somalia. The government's trying to track this stuff, and we can't track it. So I think at the end of it, you're looking at a situation where, with all of this fraud scheme happening, there is so many things to unpack here. But number one is, it's power versus people, because this is bigger than Tim Walz. This is happening because there's other entities, other parts of this, other factors. I'm sure there's other people involved beyond Tim Walz that's allowing this to occur. And when the people are paying for this, that are paying taxes, where's receipts for this stuff? We as Americans, we got to start asking ourselves, every year we're paying taxes, where's the receipts on where this money is going? How do we get involved on a position where you have $9 billion of taxpayer money being allocated? This ain't the first time. And being out there understanding that we can't just say, let the leaders, let politicians, let our governors spend the money on whatever they want, and us not being able to find it. Because if I was involved, or let's say another individual is involved, and it's our own money, you darn right we're going to find out exactly where that money's going. If you're running a business, you're not going to let 2 years pass and you just keep going in debt. There's a reason for it. So we need to wake up. We need to understand that this is not going to be the first. It won't be the last. But until we stop letting politicians and really government allocate money without us knowing or seeing receipts for this money, this is going to continue. We're going to continue to see governors, people in power. That's the problem. The power of people is going to continue to have this problem. I'm Dan French. This is the Dan French Show. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Tim Walz and what's happened here in Minnesota, and as if you're going to see something like this occur in the near future, or even in the continuous years coming forward. Let me know. Subscribe, like the channel. We'll see you guys at the next one.